how fragile is team chemistry from year to year, and is there any way to anticipate it from a coaching perspective?
I don't know if fragile is the right word. I would say that it's very different from year to year. Each year, the team kind of forms its personality in the off season, and then the summer, and then in fall camp, there's a little personality there, and then the season kind of produces the leaders when you find out more about them. But I wouldn't say fragile is the right word. I'd just say that it's different year to year. It's certainly been much different chemistry this year than last year. But I think a lot of that has to do with the senior leadership we've got, and even the juniors. There's a lot more guys playing.
Coach, Kerryon Johnson's a guy who leads the SEC in touchdowns. He scored in every game he's played in. You know, having watched the tape, what have you seen from him, and you know, why does he have such a knack to get into the end zone?
Well, he's an explosive runner. He's very patient. He's got a vicious stiff arm. I mean, his stiff arm reminds me of the kid at Tennessee, John Kelly. I mean, he's really hard to tackle, and they do a tremendous job giving him the rock. I mean, he runs hard, you know, and our guys didn't tackle the way they need to today, and I hate it because we got another day to clean it up. But he's a special back. I mean, he's very good, very talented.
Coach, Von Lassiter, Jake's old coach, seems to think he has something on the lines of a photographic memory. Just said his ability to process a lot of information and remember it is. Have you noticed that in the in the weekly study? Would you say that's one of his traits?
I don't think I'm cleared to determine that. Like, I don't have the license or the ability to say he has a photographic memory. I think he's a bright kid, but I'll leave that to Vaughn to say that he has a photographic memory, because I think that's probably a little bit much. I don't know if that's the case or not. I mean, he didn't remember to motion a guy in last week a couple times, so maybe he doesn't have a perfect photographic memory.
Kirby, can you point to one or two areas where Roquan has taken a jump this season? I mean, are there things that stand out to you that he's doing better this year?
Yeah, I would say that his understanding of the defense is much more, but his leadership is even greater than that. He has not been afraid to speak when he felt strongly about something, and I think that's a rare trait in a junior. So he's not worried what other people think about him, and that's what leaders have to be, and he's been that.
Coach, following up on Roquan, he's kind of this centerpiece, I guess you could say, of the defense this year, and you had spoken about him dating back to SEC media days in July, but I mean, jumping from last year to this year, was there ever a time when you kind of thought that he could be that guy and be that centerpiece?
Yeah, I don't know if there was one wow moment as much as there was just cumulative effect of him picking things up. I thought it was going to happen in spring when I told y'all he was out there behind the huddle, taking the steps, watching the plays, had a script in his hand. I mean, it bothered him that he wasn't able to practice, where he didn't lay back and just relax and have a good time. He was very businesslike, very professional about his approach when he was not in, which I think has helped him have a better senior year.
Kirby,
I'm sorry.
Kirby, I wanted to follow up on a question I asked you yesterday, and I think it's poorly worded on my part, but the games that I asked you about yesterday, the 96, the overtime game, and the first in the SEC, and then the kick six. Like I said, big moments there in Jordan-Hare Stadium. How well do you remember those things? And was there anything unique about them other than what we all saw?
Not that I really remember. I mean, every stadium that I've coached in, I feel like I have unique memories. I mean, there's lots of memories. I don't know that Jordan-Hare has any more memories for me than anywhere else that I've played. It just seems that I've played in there a lot because it's the overlap between playing here and coaching where I used to coach. So it has a lot to do with it, but there's nothing that really sticks out. I mean, I don't really remember playing real well. I remember Bobo's throw to get us into overtime, and then kick six. Obviously, all I remember is kick six. So that haunts you forever, but that's really it.
Kirby, Dylan McGee's coaching a room that probably a lot of folks around the country would like to work with those guys. How has he helped his running backs get better, and what's he meant for your program?
Well, he's a tremendous leader. He sets a great example for them. He's a good teacher. He understands the defensive side of the football as well as the offensive side of the football. So that's a rare trait where he can tell you what the defense is thinking, because he's played that position before and he's coached over there before. So he knows a lot about picking up blitzes, where they're coming from, eye control, and he demands a lot. So I think he does a really good job with developing the young backs.
You're young in your career as a head coach, but I mean, can you see that in Dale's future? He served as an interim at Georgia Southern and kind of cut his teeth in coaching there at Carver. Can you see that in his future?
Yeah, certainly. I think that every coach on our staff, wants to become a head coach, and I think that your role as the head coach is to make sure that you're developing coaches, all coaches, and you're giving them an opportunity to grow professionally. You're teaching them the same things you learned as an assistant coach, and then you're learning from them things they've done. So I think every coach on our staff is deserving of that and continue to grow.
Kirby, how impressed have you been by Sony's play this year?
Very impressed. I mean, I think Sony's leadership, number one, has impressed me more than his play. His toughness and quickness, I think, has been a little better this year than in years past. And I think he's much more driven. I think when you have a purpose, you tend to be more driven, and he seems more driven.
You guys are again in pretty good injury health. You've had more injuries this year than you did last year, but guys are back. Do you think there's anything y'all are doing preventative-wise, treatment-wise?
I don't know. I mean, I certainly would like to give credit to Ron Corson. Scott does a tremendous job getting those guys physically ready in the off season. I think it's, you got to practice smart, but you got to practice physical, and some of it's been luck. You got to have some luck on your side and prevent injuries. But we have been very fortunate.
That is the thing, like with the culture being practice so tough and so hard, it seems kind of contrary that you'd be in pretty good shape.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think everybody believes their culture and practice is hard and tough. I think when you hear it from the players, that may just be they're not used to it. It may be just like this everywhere else. It's hard to really say that. We all like to think that our practices are harder and tougher than everybody else's, but who really knows? I don't know. I'm not at those other places, but we have been very fortunate.
When you get to this point in the season, though, how do you balance the physical nature of a practice with the injury prevention and with not wearing these guys out too much?
I don't think you do balance it. I think you follow science. You look at the GPS numbers. We're comparing the numbers this year to last year. We're seeing how many guys are hitting top speeds in the games. If they continue to hit their top speeds, then we continue to do what we do. If they slow down, then we have to slow down. I think for the first time we had a game that we had to play all 4 quarters, so we had guys play more snaps. So we have to be smarter this week than in past weeks. But we also got to get ready for a tough physical football game.
You kind of glossed over it there at the beginning of your remarks about you weren't happy with the tackling today. And you mentioned, I think, after the South Carolina game, too, that I know it's really important against these guys because they end up with so many one-on-one situations. What do you see in there?
Well, the Florida game was the game that stuck out. It wasn't so much South Carolina. We didn't get too many opportunities, and we tackled pretty well in the South Carolina game. But I think that the more you get to put those guys in those situations, we do drills each day to try to mimic that, but it's hard to simulate where they'll get put against Auburn, and we just got to do a better job.
You talked about the physical nature of their lines. Maybe talk more about their offensive line yesterday. What's the challenge for your offensive line with the guys they have, like Holland and the other guys?
Yeah, they've got the best defensive line we face. I mean, they're extremely talented. We've watched them several games this year ourselves as we were watching other teams play. They're big, they're physical, they're fast, they push the pocket, they rush the passer, they stop the run. They're good on defense.
Said Sonny's more driven this year. What's driving him?
I think that he has more purpose. Just driven. Seems more intent. Lost some weight.
Kirby, when you're playing an offense like Auburn, what benefits does it bring to the defense having, a group of upperclassmen that's played against this offense, 2 or 3 times in the past?
I think it helps familiarity, but they're not exactly the same. I mean, they've changed some things up. They're mixing it up a little bit. They've got a quarterback that can throw it. They've got a really good group of wideouts that he can throw it to, and they've got a really powerful back. So it helps having guys who have played against Auburn, but ultimately you have to go out and perform in the heat of the moment and know how to execute because they go up tempo, they go fast. They've got some good window dressing things. They do a great job of confusing you with eye control.
How much difference have you seen that make, having Stidham their quarterback this year versus what they had last year?
Oh, it's a big difference. It's to the tune of about 450 yards a game.
I've heard coaches mention in the past about Auburn that you know the tempo is one challenge, but that they go that kind of huddle stuff where they huddle like 3 yards behind the ball and then go snap it real quick. What is it like having to deal with so many different types of tempo that they go with? They can slow it down, go in between, go fast. I mean, it seems like they've got a lot of different things they can throw at you.
They do, and we have to have a lot of things we can throw at them because for everything they do, they got to block what we do. But they do a good job. It's been that way for years. It's always a tough week of preparation because there's a lot of things to prepare for, and we probably make it that way because we have such a history on them. So you feel like you got to do everything they've ever done because they might do it. In actuality, they can't do all that stuff in one game, but you got to prepare for it.
How does Coach Lindsey kind of put his fingerprint on what they're doing offensively?
Well, I think he's got a guy that can throw the ball. You see some different ideas in there that maybe he brought. I'm not sure whether it's all Gus, all him. It doesn't matter. They're doing a good job together, and they've got those guys playing well, playing at a really high level.
As far as their offensive line goes, since the Clemson game, does their improvement in some way maybe parallel how your offensive line has improved the season going on?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I don't know. I mean, I think they're obviously different because they struggle with backs. They don't have the number of backs, and Cam's been injured, but their offensive line is playing well. They've got some physical guys. They're very big up front, bigger than us.
Two more questions. How much did you know about Stidham when he was at Baylor?
I didn't know anything about him. I didn't know anything until he transferred.
Coach, Jake Fromm hasn't lost a game in over a calendar year now. What is it about Fromm that makes him such a winner?
I think he's got some good intangibles. I think he has a really good supporting cast. I think he's got some good backs, and he's got some veteran players. He's playing on a team that's got really good special teams right now, and he's been playing good defense. So it's a lot of combination of things, but he certainly gets it and understands the importance of the little things. And he's got to do that this weekend because it'll be a great environment for college football. Thanks, guys. Thank you.